Okay, hello there everybody. It's excuse me. It's 8 o'clock. It's Monday the 19th of February, and Monday night 8 o'clock means it's time for our weekly crafting fix. So here we are. I'll just give a couple of seconds, wait for people to come on. As you join in, leave me a comment, let me know you're here so I can say hi, and I'm just going to double check my setup, make sure we're okay. So okie dokie. Right, so here we are. Perfect. Okay, so how is everybody? Are you all having a good weekend, or did you have a good weekend? What did we get up to? Not a great deal. I was laid up for most of the weekend actually, because as you may hear, I've still got a bit of the sniffle that I had last week. So that means actually that for tonight I don't have finished samples ready for you. We're going to wing it a little bit tonight. So I've got a couple of ideas in my mind. Hi Tanya, good to see you. Welcome. You're the first one in the door. Congratulations. How are you today? Sorry, just fixing my camera in place. So yeah, we're going to be winging it a little bit tonight because I didn't have time to prepare my samples because I've been laid up in bed all weekend. I don't know if you guys saw it, but I hope you enjoyed the video of my son Rupert. Oh, that's good, Tanya, I'm glad. I hope you enjoyed the video of my son Rupert last week making, flipping pancakes. It was, I have to say, it was a lot of fun. It's definitely lengthened the process of making the pancakes because every pancake had to be flipped at least half a dozen times. But hey ho, he enjoyed it. It was great fun. So let me think, what is there I've got to tell you this week? Oh yes, celebration is still carrying on. Obviously it carries on till the end of March, but last week on the 16th of February we released some new items that you can choose as freebies. So in addition to what's in your little catalogue that you may already have, there's a couple of new items. I've ordered mine and I'm waiting for them to come in, but there's a new stamp set and there's a bundle with a stamp set and an embossing folder, and there's some gorgeous foiled paper. So I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on those and playing with them. When I finish this, I'll put a link. I think I did a post already, but I'll put a link in for you so you can go there and see what all the newbies are. Second of all, thank you to all those of you who've taken advantage of my 5% off during February offer. Thank you for your orders. They're all being processed and they're on their way out to you. If you haven't taken advantage of it yet, then there's still time, basically because this month is my 5th year as a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. To celebrate, I'm taking 5% off any orders that are placed with me during the month. So if you want to do that, then just email me what you want and we'll get it sorted out for you. So let me see, what have we got today? So tonight, what I've got planned is going to play around with some Brushos for a bit because some people asked me about that. We've got a little bit of stuff to do with the Stampin' blends, so a bit of colouring, and I've got a fun little technique or idea for you for your cards. So I think we're going to get going. Let's have a look. Yep, just make sure I'm still broadcasting. Right, so let's get going. Let's get stuck into our first card. So, somebody asked me the other week, when I asked for people what they wanted me to show, they asked me to show Brushos. Okay, so I did a little bit a few weeks ago, or a couple of months ago when they first came out, but I'm just going to go over them quickly with you. So basically what Brushos are is they are powdered pigment, basically, okay? And it's very, very fine powder, and it reacts with water. So there's a couple of ways that you can do it. I'm just going to get a scrap of watercolour paper here. Okay, so it needs to be used, like I say, you need to use watercolour paper when you use your Brushos. So there's two ways to do it really. One way is to sprinkle your Brushos directly onto your paper like so. Okay, you can see they're a really fine powder. We recommend that you don't actually open these tubs, you just punch a hole in the top using your piercer or something like that, so that because the powder is so fine, otherwise it will fly everywhere. And then once you've got it on your paper, you can take a spritzer and just spray it on and watch what happens then when the water hits it, the crystals react. So I hope you can see it on camera when I do it. There, can you see? Isn't that fantastic? Isn't that a great effect? And the more water you put on it, the more it reacts. So you can really play around with it. Then the other thing you can do is, for a slightly more controlled look, but if I show you, what I like is, see up here, you can see that the crystals break apart and you get some interesting colours and what have you in there. But the other thing you can do is you can lay some water down. See, I've got crystals on here, so. Okay. And then you can just sprinkle your crystals in. And there you can see it reacting with the water. So you can get all sorts of really great, that's the orange one there. So you can get all sorts of really great effects with your Brushos. It's one of those mediums that you've just got to kind of play with for a while. So some of the things that I've done is I'm just going to go through some of the colours that you can get. So we've got Prussian blue, which looks like this. I'm going to move this out of the way actually. There we go. Got that one. And then we've got our yellow. We've got our brilliant red. We've got our orange, which is quite close in colour to the yellow, but you can see it's got a bit more red in it. And then we've got this moss green, which isn't really a green, it's more of a browny colour. And at first when I saw it, I didn't really like it, but actually I quite like it now. You can see it's got bits of purple and yellow in it. Gives a really cool effect, okay? And these are just some of the swatches that I've done where I've just been playing around with my watercolour paper, just basically sticking it on there and seeing what happened. Alright, so the card tonight, just move these out of the way. There we go. I'm going to use a stamp set that I've been meaning to use for a little while but haven't quite got round to, and that's the Epic Celebration set, which is one of the free celebration sets. So I'm going to have a play with this image here. Okay, but first let's do our Brusho effect. So as I say, always use heavy grade watercolor paper with this, because it needs quite a lot of water in order to react. So you just want to make sure that the paper can take it. If you use ordinary cardstock, the cardstock will just curl and peel and it just won't be nice. So what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to sprinkle my powder onto the dry card and then spritz it, okay, because that's the effect I'm going for. So I'm just going to spritz them in the corner here, okay, don't need a lot, and then take my spray, my little spritzer, and I'm just going to, you can see I'm quite far away, and I'm going to try and get it on the paper. There we go. Okay, that's fine. So ordinarily I would let that dry, but because we're on camera, I'm just going to dry it with my heat tool, so bear with me 1 second. Now if you were doing this yourself, I would definitely recommend that you leave it to dry, because you get just much more interesting patterns and stuff where the water lands and sits. So I'm just going to drag some of this around. You can see that because I haven't put too much on, I could get, this colour can be really quite intense, but because I haven't put too much on, I've got not too bad an effect actually. And I love the splatters that you get on the side. I think they're really cool. Okay, so that's pretty dry. Hi Anne, you haven't missed much, we've just started on our Brushos. So, there we go. Welcome. Alright, so let's move that out of the way because that's all wet now. Alright, so I'm going to put that, you can see it's curled a bit, but that's alright, we can straighten it out. I'm just going to put that to one side for a moment and I'm going to stamp our sentiment. Okay, so we've got, I'm going to do some Night of Navy, and I'm going to use this trainer image. Okay, I'm just going to, there's my scrap. Just 1 second. Do. Alright, so I'm just going to ink this up in Night of Navy, like so. Okay, and then I need a scrap of navy as well. So just grab that and then bring in the brush. Some space. Alrighty. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on this side so you can see. I'm going to cut the trainers out using one of my circle dies, and then I'm just going to cut a piece of navy out using a scalloped circle, just a tiny bit bigger, and then take my plates, there we go, run them through. Okay, forgive me for sniffing, still got my cold. Okay, so there we have that. Okay, put that down, get rid of those. Now, actually, looking at that, I don't like the very vanilla, so I'm just going to get a scrap of white. Bear with me 1 second. In fact, I'm going to stamp it on some watercolour paper so that it matches exactly. That's me being a little bit anal now. I'm wanting it to match. Go. Alright. Yeah, that's better. Okay, let's put that down. Excuse me. Right, so let's just stamp that one again. Alright. And there we have it. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just colour these a little bit. So I don't want a lot of colour, just a little. So I've got a little bit of blue on my brush from working the Brushos earlier, so you can see I can just use that. Okay. There we go. That's all. That's just to give it a little bit of colour. Okay. Here we are. And then I'm going to stamp a greeting. So I'm going to do "You're awesome." I think we'll do that in Night of Navy. So I want that. I want that there, I think. That's it. Okay. So we're just going to glue our watercolor paper down onto our scallop, like so. I'm going to pop it up on some dimensionals. So this is a cool card for those difficult teenagers difficult in all sorts of ways, not just for making cards for. Okay. Pop that there. And actually, looking at it, I think I want a little bit extra on here. So before I put that on, let's just stick this down. So because it's wet and it's a little bit buckled, I'm going to use double-sided tape on here. And that just helps keep it nice and straight. There we go. There we are. And then we'll just line that up. Good press. There we go. And then I want to add some washi tape to this, I think. So let's do that. As I said, I'm completely winging it with this tonight. Got a rough idea in my head and we'll just see how it goes. Okay, so let's try a piece there. And where's the end? Here we go. Oh, thank you guys. I do find, generally speaking, if I want a colour to just bring something together or make it pop, I tend to go for black or yellow. Surprising. I read somewhere there's some design reason why yellow is a great colour combination. I can't remember what it is, but I do find it does help. That's stuck to my surface now. Okay, so let's see, I want a little bit more up this side. So I'm going for a kind of grungy sort of look with this one. Let's see how we go. Grunge is not normally a look that I really do that well, but we'll see. Yeah, it's not bad. I think we need a little bit more of this one. Yeah, getting there. I think a bit more yellow. Thank you for sharing. That's great. Feel free to share, everybody. I love it when you share the video, then more people can enjoy it. There we go. All right, so I think we're ready to stick our sentiment panel down now. Yeah. Yep, that looks good. Right, and then finally we've got our Night of Navy base, which is just the A4 piece cut in half the long way. I'm just going to score that. And then just glue on. And there we have it. Really kind of cool and funky teenager sort of card. Now I think actually you could do that in sort of like a pinky colour as well for a girl, and it'd look kind of cool too. So there we go. That's card number 1 using our Brushos. So I'm just going to leave that there while I clear away a little bit before we move on to our second card. Forgive me if I'm a bit disjointed this evening, but like I said, I'm stamping on the fly a little bit tonight, so we'll just see how it goes. Right, so that's that. Okay, so that's card number 1. Now, card number 2, I'm going to stick with Brushos for card number 2. Thanks, Anne. It's a little bit different to what I normally do. Not quite the clean and simple look, but it's good to try new stuff. So yeah, we're going to stick with the Brushos for this next card, but we're going to go for, I find one of the challenges with Brushos is that it can be a little bit difficult to control. So I'm just going to show you a way to do it that you've got a little bit more control over where your colour goes. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is some embossing. So we've got our watercolour paper again. Okay, I'm going to, as always, use our embossing buddy to make sure that we've got rid of any oils or anything like that. I'm going to bring back in my scrap that we're going to stamp off, and then I'm going to use the Rose Wonder stamp set. I love this rose image here. It's absolutely gorgeous and it's huge. So again, it's one of those images, whoops, that really just makes an entire card without too much effort. I'm going to give you a tip now. When you're stamping on it, see, this is a really big stamp, okay? And I've got a really big block that would fit. See, this one's a little bit small. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to put my stamp down on my paper, okay? I'm going to ink it up like so. Okay, and then I'm going to place my card down onto my image. Okay, so I want it like so, and then just press down. Excuse me. So you can do this with any large stamp, with your background stamps, anything like that. It's just important to get good, even pressure across it. And in fact, you can use one of your smaller blocks to just rub over the surface of the paper. Okay, you should get a good image. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to emboss this using copper. Okay, so just gonna pop it on like so. Okay, be generous with it. Okay, and we've got a few spots there, but that's all right. We'll just take our paintbrush and we can gently get rid of them, like so. Let's give it a good tap. There we are, happy with that. And I'm just going to empty this back into our tub. There we go. All right. I'm going to bring in our oops, heat tool. Excuse the noise for a moment. Now when you're heat embossing on watercolour paper, it does take a little bit longer for the magic to happen. There we go. Okay, and we'll just work our way around. I mean, I love this image. This image would be great for, you know, any kind of colouring, watercolouring, using your blends. It's fabulous. And it lends itself to so many different occasions, and the sentiments in the set are great. You've got, you know, a happy birthday, a thank you, a with sympathy, a wedding. Really good sentiments to go with this one. There we go. We had quite a laugh last week, didn't we, ladies, when we did the heat embossing with the oohing and ahhing and all of that. Okay, there we go. Alright, so I'm just going to leave that for 1 second. I'll pop these away, give ourselves some room, okay? Whenever you're working with Brusho, okay, it is a messy medium, so always make sure you protect your work surface, okay? So now what we're going to do for the last card, if you remember, we put the powder down on the paper and then we spritzed. And that's what gave us this gorgeous splatter effect, which is really, really cool. But we don't really want that with this. We want a little bit more control over what we're doing. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to colour the leaves in just regular green. So let me get some ink. I could mix my blue and my yellow together to get a green, but it's just easier to do it this way, okay? There we are, and then I'll just grab my aqua painter, make sure I don't have any colour on there, and then just add some water, put it here so you can see, okay, you see that? And then I'm just gonna, and I'm not being careful really, because I want a really light, just a wash, okay? So I'm working on watercolor paper, so it's really thick artist grade watercolor paper, so it can take all of the abuse that I'm going to give it. Here we go. Because I'm watering on it and I'm heat embossing it and I'm doing all sorts of stuff. Okay, there we go. And then I can just, as you can see, I'm not being especially careful about this. I don't want a precise look. I just want some nice shading. There we go. Look at that. Beautiful. That's why watercoloring is great. It's very, very forgiving, especially on a large image like this. Okay, and the other thing is, because it's heat embossed, you're unlikely to go outside the lines, which is even great, even better. All right, so I'm just going to clean my brush off, make sure I've not got any more colour on it. Okay, right, so now we're ready to colour our flower, and for this one I'm going to use red and yellow. Okay, so what we do first is we take our aqua painter, like I said, I just want to make sure it's clean, okay, and I'm going to add colour to the surface, like so, okay, because what will happen is that we'll sprinkle our Brushos on, okay, but they'll only activate where there's water, okay, so I'm just going to give it a good bit of water though, because it needs quite a lot of water to activate. We can add more if we want to. So make sure your card is reasonably, it's quite wet. Let me hold it up so you can see. You can see that it's quite wet. We've got quite a lot of fluid on there. Okay. All right. So let me think. What shall I do? I think I'll do red in the middle. And then we'll do some yellow around the outside. Okay, so we'll start with the red. And you can see that starting to react with the water. Okay, now I can, if I want, I can take my brush and I can add more water. And I can work it a little bit more, like so. See that? Let the water do the work. Pick it up and move it. Okay? And then I'm going to take, now my ink has dropped, my water's dried out a little bit, so I'm just going to add a bit more water to the other areas I want to work in. Okay? There we go, and now I'm going to take my yellow and I'm just going to gently tap it into those areas. You see that? And I'm actually going to put a bit over the red as well. Now I can see down here, can you see there's no water, so we've not got any activity. So I'm just going to put a drop of water in there and you'll see that it starts to work. Look at that. Okay. And I can pick up some yellow from up here and blend it in up there. I can take some of the red and I can just work it in around the rest of the flower. And the thing about this is that you really don't know how it's going to work or what it's going to do, and each one will be different. So you've got to be prepared for that. Okay, there we go. We can just move the colour around a little. And there you have it. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Isn't that beautiful? Got a few white spots, so I'm just going to pop some water in there that allows the paint, the colour to flow. There we go. Happy with that. No, Petra, I don't. I'll show you. I just have the one. And what I've used is taken my paper piercing tool and I've just popped it in like so. Okay, and then just twisted it a little bit like that. Okay, and you can see it's quite tight. And I find I like to have that only a little comes out at a time, because then I've got a little bit more control. I can always add more to the project if I want. Thank you. I'm really, really pleased with how that one has turned out. And I just, whoops, I spilled a little bit, but that's all right. I can just mop that up. Let me just get some kitchen towel. Okay, I'm just going to mop that off there. There we go. No worries, Petra. You're welcome. It's one of those mediums that it does take a while to get used to, and to be honest, my first few things that I made, I was like, ugh. I really don't like this at all. And the one tip I would give you, with, if anything, with working with Brushos is less really is more. And because it's so fine and you can't always see it when you first put it down on the paper, the temptation is to put a lot on. But I find it's best to just, you only need tiny amounts to get really intense, vivid colour. And then if you get a result and you're not happy with it and you want it a little bit more intense, I'm just going to mop some of these up, okay? What you can do is, for example, let's say here, okay, we say, all right, we want a little bit more colour here, is that if I put some water in, okay, I can add more yellow. And we can work it again. Okay, and I can add more water and just deepen that colour even more. You see that? In fact, I like that effect, so I'm going to do it a bit more. So just going to add a bit more water. Okay. There you go. And this is why you need proper watercolour paper rather than regular card, because regular card just won't take this amount of water and colouring on it. Okay, there we go. Right, I'm just going to mop some of these edges up. So again, you can see if you've got colour that it's a bit more intense than you want, if you take a piece of kitchen towel. Yes, I would say more water, less Brusho every time, Petra, quite right. But if I show you, see here, right, if I want to mop this up, all I need to do, I don't need to press, I just need to hold my paper next to where it's wet or where I've got more colour than I want, and it will just pull it up, okay? So you can dab over the whole thing if you want to dry it. Like I say, normally with Brusho, I like to leave it to dry, because you just get a nicer effect. But because I'm doing it live, then I'm going to mop it up, and I'm just going to run the heat tool over it quickly, just to get it dry so we can do the rest of the card. How do I dry it so it doesn't curl? I haven't found a way to make it not curl at all. What I find is that if you wet it at the back, sometimes that helps. If you dry it at the back, that sometimes helps. But generally what I do, is you'll see in a minute, is I just put some strong double-sided tape on the back and layer it onto a piece of cardstock. I find that's the most effective way. Now, I'm not too worried about getting little bits outside like we've done there, because it's, you know, it's an imperfect watercolour effect, so if we've got a bit of bleeding, I don't really mind. Yeah, Petra, I know exactly what you mean. My first few were just a mess. You just got to keep playing with it. And what I ended up doing is I went to the local art store, and I bought myself just a big pad. I just got myself a big pad of heavy grade watercolour paper, and just played with it basically. Do Petra, it's definitely worth it's worth sticking with. It just takes a little bit of getting used to. But when you get there, it's just fantastic. And like I say, it's really magic when the colours start to mix and the crystals explode and everything. It's absolutely gorgeous. Right, so we're done with our colouring. Okay, we've got a little wet spot there, but that's all right. So now I'm going to make this a thank you card. So this is what I was saying about this stamp set. The greetings in here are absolutely gorgeous. So we're just going to go with the thank you, because I always need thank you cards for all my lovely customers. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to stamp that in Old Olive. Okay, just going to pop that in the corner there. There we go. Right, and then, as I said, we bring out our double-sided tape. Where's my kitchen towel? I'm just going to dry up that last little spot so it doesn't smudge too much. Now, if I had left this to dry, my colours would be a lot more intense than they are. Okay. Go. So as I say, plenty of double-sided tape on the back. And the other tip I would give you is that when you finish working with Brushos, because the powder is so fine, it really does get everywhere. It's a bit like embossing powder, and as soon as water hits it, it will reactivate. So be careful you've not got any crystals on your card front or anything like that. Otherwise it will just boof as soon as any water goes near it. Okay. Alright, so now we're just going to layer this onto a piece of Old Olive, and this is what helps straighten it out. Go, and we'll just press it down. Fran, no, you're all right. We're only on our second card. We've been playing with Brushos, so it takes a little while. It's the first one we made. Okay, so there we go. And then we've got our card base in Very Vanilla. As usual, I will post on my blog all of the dimensions and supplies that I've used. And that will go up probably a bit later on this week. So you can recreate them if you want. Thanks, Fran. Okay, so let's pop this down. Thank you, Sue. I'm really pleased with this one. This is an idea I've had in my mind for a little while. There we go. And I think, actually, looking at it, there's one more thing we can do to it. Bit of Wink of Stella. Now, be careful, because it won't reactivate the crystals, but you just got to be careful that it doesn't go mad. Okay, that you don't spread the colour too much. I think my Wink of Stella pen is on its way out. But never mind. There we go. Just want a little hint. There we go. There, can you see that? Can you see the shimmer? There we are. Lovely. I like that one. Right, let's put that to one side. So that's card number 2, and that's Brushos. Like I said, they take a bit of getting used to, they take a bit of playing with, but they are definitely worth the effort and the investment of some watercolour cardstock. Right, so let's clear some space. As I say, make sure I've not got any crystals left on my work surface, otherwise they will reactivate as soon as anything else hits them. Okay, so let's see, what should we do next? Next, let's do some more colouring. Thanks, Anne. Thank you. We're going to do some more colouring, but this time we're going to play with the blends. Okay. And I'm going to do a happy birthday card. So we're just going to have, this is a very, very simple one. There we go. Okay, so we're going to use the Birthday Wishes for You stamp set, which is just one of those great sets to have because the sentiment is so huge. A bit like the rose one we've just done. It's so big that it's easy to make a card with it. Okay, so all I'm going to do is ink it up with my Memento ink. Always use your Memento ink with your markers. Okay, try not to get it on your hand like I've just done. And then I'm going to just stamp it down like so. Okay, and then I'm going to do an ombre effect with this one, and I'm going to do it in Pool Party, I think. Yeah, I'm going to use a touch of Bermuda Bay maybe. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So when colouring, I'm going to sit down for this one. When colouring with your blends, remember that use thick cardstock, and also that as you put the ink onto the paper, it will continue to expand into the paper as you colour. So don't go too close to the edge. So in an image like this that's got quite a fine edge, you don't want to go all the way up to the edge because it will continue to bleed out. Okay, so I'm going to use. Whoops. I'm going to start with the light, and as you see, I'm just going to run it not all the way to the edge, but I'm just going to cover the whole thing. Okay, I can always come back in later when I'm sure that it's finished and add a bit more. Okay, this is just to lay a layer of colour down. I mean, to be honest, if you were doing this, you could just colour it with one colour. There's nothing to stop you doing that. Okay, and I'm going to colour the happy as well, like so. Alright, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my dark Pool Party, and starting from the bottom, I'm just going to go about halfway up, like so. Okay, now because I want to blend this, I'm not going all the way across like I did before. So then I'm going to take my light and I'm just going to blend up like that. Okay, so you don't get a harsh line from one to the other. Okay, and if I want to add a bit more, right, what I could do is I could take my Bermuda Bay and I could add a little bit just along the bottom, like so. Now I've gone a bit outside there, so I'm just going to take my colour lifter, try and lift that up. Here we go, here it comes. There we are. Okay, and then I'll take my light Pool Party again and just blend that up. Okay, so then we're going to go again. And because you're blending, you want to just work in small areas at a time so that the ink is still active. Okay, if I was to go all the way across, then by the time I came back in with my light colour on top, the ink wouldn't be ready, wouldn't blend quite as nicely because it will have dried. Alcohol inks dry quite quickly. Okay, and then we'll just add a little bit. I'm going to use the fine tip actually for my Bermuda Bay at the bottom. Like so, and then blend again with the Pool Party. There we go. Okay, and then we come back our dark Pool Party again, just along the bottom half. Remember to close your markers between each time you use them, because again the tips will dry out and you don't want that. That's the thing about alcohol, is that it does dry very, very quickly. So I'm just going to a little bit at the bottoms, here, and here, and then blend in again. There we go. So on our happy, we want the light, dark, and then the Bermuda Bay just on the bottom, like so, and then we'll come back in with the light and just blend it all together. There we are. Okay, so then if I go back, I can say, right, look, I want a little bit more, touch it up here, fill in some gaps because my ink has stopped spreading. There we go. And particularly in the areas where you're blending, obviously every time you blend you add a layer, so you're adding more ink. Okay, there we go. Alrighty, so that's that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring back in, excuse me, bring back in the shot. I'm going to cut this out. Okay. So I'm going to use, where is it? One of my label framelits. Okay, so just line that up. Oops, excuse me, just knocked the camera. Okay. So there we have our birthday, and that's just going to go on the front here like this, but that's not all I'm going to do, so I can't leave it just like that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stamp the with many wishes just for you, and I'm going to stamp that in basic black. Okay, I'm just going to pop that down there. Okay, and then I'm going to colour that in, what colour shall I do? What colour, ladies? What colour? I think I'm going to go with my light cherry cobbler, perhaps. Or shall we do rich raspberry? What do we think? No, do you know what? I'm going to do Bermuda Bay. Okay, so let's just... Okay, so I'm just going to make this all one colour. And I'm not too worried about going outside the lines because I'm going to cut it out. Okay. Okay, let's see if I can get this right. Cutting through the camera viewfinder. So let's see how we go. Here we go. Okay. Alrighty, so there we've got our nice little banner. It's going to go on there. Okay, and then I want to add some ribbon, but I'm going to show you another neat trick first for our ribbon. Okay, so we need my paper back in again. So I have this gorgeous, whoops, this gorgeous white ribbon here, okay, which would look quite nice behind here, okay, does look quite nice, but I want it to be a bit more pow than that, so I'm going to colour it. And I'm going to colour it using my blends because that's what I can do. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Bermuda Bay, which is the dark colour I had here, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to measure how much I want first, okay? So probably say that much. Let's snip it. Alright. And then all I'm going to do is with the brush tip, hold it at this end. Oops, it's a bit curly. I'm just going to colour it like so. So can you imagine all the different colours you can get with this ribbon? You could create an ombre. You've been waiting for it. Well, here it is. So you could do an ombre effect if you want. So for example, let's say I did, just to show you, get it straight. Let's say I did pool party. Let's get the right end. Okay, so let's say I did pool party at the top, like that, and then I did Bermuda Bay at the bottom. Can you see the effect you get? Can you see that? Cool, very cool effect. So I'm just going to run this along the ribbon. All I'm doing is I'm pulling it through under my pen, otherwise I'll be here all night. Okay. Yeah, not working quite so well this time, but never mind. We'll get there. And again, because the ink dries really quickly, it doesn't actually take all that long to do. Okay. There we go. Yes, I've done something similar, Ananda. Let me show you. So I've made this ribbon just by colouring in turns. Isn't it gorgeous? Okay, so I can see, ordinarily I would colour both sides. So can you see this side is done and this side is not fully, but I actually quite like that I've got a little bit of the white showing, so I'm going to leave it like that. Okay, let's put the lids back on. It colours the edge, Anne, that's right. It'll colour any ribbon, but obviously it shows up best on the white. So if you look, you can see. It'll colour your embellishments as well. It'll colour your rhinestones and your gems, all sorts of things. Okay, and you can see I'm running it through my fingers and I'm not getting ink coming off on it, which is really cool. Okay, so let's come back to our card. That's right, Ananda. Yes, if you can see it there, if I hold it up against something white there. So you can see that the middle bit is also slightly coloured. I wouldn't try and do it to try and keep the middle white. I wouldn't have the dexterity or the patience for it. So, all right, so all we're going to do is just tie this in a bow on one side. Yep, any ribbon. It'll work on any ribbon. Obviously, if the ribbon is white to start with, then you'll get a more noticeable effect. Let's just get my. There we go. Okay, let's pimp my bow a little bit till I'm happy with it. There we go. So I want it slightly off to the side. Okay, and then I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back here. And let's see. Where do I want it? I want it there. Okay, and then I'm just going to trim the ends off. And then for the final touch, we'll bring back in my little one. And we're going to use our mini dimensionals on the back here. Oops. These ones are fiddly to get off. And the backs go everywhere. Okay. There we go. So there we have it. Look at that. How sweet is that? And again, you could do that. You get all sorts of colour schemes with that. Yes, I love the mini dimensionals. They're fantastic. Right, so that's card number 3. So do we have time for one more? Ooh, we're almost up to our hour, but we should have time. So this last card is pretty straightforward. So it's using the Picture Perfect Party stamp set and the Picture Perfect Designer Series paper. Now, as you may know, the Designer Series paper has quite a lot of these photographic images on them. And to be honest, I wasn't entirely sure quite what to do with them. So I decided, I saw an idea from another demonstrator who'd actually made it look like a Polaroid. So I'm going to do that. But I think this would be a great way of putting photographs on your cards. So if you wanted to personalize them. So what I've got here is a little, I think it's a 6x6 square, my 6x6 square here. And what I've done is I've cut a 6x8 piece of black cardstock, and I'm just going to trim that, okay, to create a frame. Okay. So you want to line it up so that along the top 3 edges you've got an even border, because you want a longer one at the bottom because it's a Polaroid. Okay. There we go. Okay, let's put that away. So what you end up with is one of these. Okay, frame. Get rid of that. And then we bring in our paper, and then I'm just going to stick it behind so that it looks like a photograph. They don't know what a Polaroid is. Gosh, oh well. Hey ho. Those of us who know, don't we? So it's all right. Right, so all I'm going to do is, and be careful because we've not got a lot of space, so you just want a thin layer of glue around the edge, just here, okay? And what I've done is I've cut my patterned piece roughly the same size as the whole frame, so that I've got a bit of room to play, okay? So it's a bit bigger than the aperture. So we flip that over, and we've got our nice photograph. Okay, let me just dab some of that excess glue off. Right, we're going to put that to one side for a second. And now I'm going to stamp the image. Ooh, got glue on my hands. Alright, so we're going to do the treat yourself, because what else would you do with donuts, right? What else would you say? And I'm just going to stamp that in black. Excuse me. Okay, so we're just going to do this. Thanks, Patsy. I can't take credit for it. It was another Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I'm afraid I can't remember her name that I got the idea from. I thought it was cute. Right, and then I'm going to take my triple banner punch and I'm just going to snip the tail. Okay, fine. And then I want another little scrap. Where's my piece here? And I'm going to stamp the happy birthday, which is this one, and I think I'm going to stamp this in, what colour am I going to do? I think I'll do Berry Burst. 1 second. Here we go. That's it. And then I'm just going to sit this out. I'm going to trim it quite close. I'll put it where you can see it. I'm going to trim it quite close to the sentiment itself. Okay. Alright, so we've got this bit, okay, and then I also want a little sliver of Berry Burst. I'm just going to cut a piece off, just 1 second. Just trim a little strip, and again, the flag, okay. And now let's assemble. Okay, so I've got where's my card base? Yeah. So I've got clear a bit of space here. So I've got just a plain Whisper White card base. And then I'm just going to put a layer of lemon lime twist on here, just to pick up the colour in one of the donuts. Okay. Go. And then let's see, I want to pop this up, so let's get my dimensionals. Okay, I'm just going to put that at a jaunty angle, just for extra fun factor. Okay, and then for here, let's see, what am I going to do with this one? How am I going to do it? Let's see, I want that behind, and then I want that one there. Okay, so I just want a little bit of glue on the bottom here. This is completely on the fly. I had the idea for that, but I wasn't sure what else I was going to do. So here's the creative process at work as we speak. Okay. Now you watch me faff. Okay. And then we'll just put the happy birthday. Thanks, Anne. There we go. Like that. And then I'm going to trim this like so, and it's not quite what I wanted. Hang on. Here's the wiggle room I'm always telling you about that Tombow gives you. There. That's better. That's what I wanted. And then I have one of our little binder clips here. So I'm just going to put that there just for a fun little addition, and then we're going to just pop it on with dimensionals. There we go. And there we have it. So like I say, I think this would be a really cool idea if you had like a photograph that you wanted to put on a birthday card you were making for somebody special, and just to create that frame, that Polaroid. And I think it'd be a really cute way of just making it look a little bit more than just a photograph stuck to the front of a card. So there we go. So let's clear some space. Gosh, we've taken a while tonight. A bit of room, and to bring back in the cards we've made. So this is our last card. And then we had this one, which was the blends. And then we had this one, which is the second of the Brushos, and this one, which was the first. Oh, you're welcome, Fran. It's easier than it looks. So there we go. So let me know which one's your favourite. Which one do you like best? I haven't had time to decide myself because they weren't made before I started. Oh, thank you, Anne, as always. Love them all, Fran. Painting masterclass. Oh my goodness, I'm not sure I could describe it quite as that, but thank you. I'm flattered. Let me see. Do you know something? I'm torn between these two. The rose, yeah, that came out better than I thought it would, actually. That was a bit of this one I didn't mind because I knew I was going for a messy look. Can you see them all there? Let's bring them down a little. But this one I knew I kind of had to get it a bit right. The donut one, yeah, it's cute, isn't it? Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you. Right, so there we have it. That's it for this week. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for your great comments. We've had lots of you tonight. I'm guessing from the comments that a lot of you are my fellow demos, so welcome. I'm glad to have you with me. And thank you to those of you who've shared. It's great. I really do appreciate it. You like the last one, the rose. The Brushos do make it pop. That's right. So for those of you who are my customers here or would like to be my customer, I'd love to be your demonstrator. Remember that I've got 5% off during February to celebrate my 5th anniversary of a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. So if you want to take advantage of that, then hobby demo Ananda, great. That's what I am. That's pretty much what I do. So yeah, just send me an email with what you want. I'll have a blog post in a couple of days with all of the dimensions and supplies, which I'll pop a link to as well. So thank you all for watching again. Great to have you with me, and see you again same time next week. Bye.